What's up, y'all? Well, December in Texas, everything gets lit up. Looks nice down here in the stockyards. Luckily, it's not that cold yet. It's pretty comfortable. The Drover Hotel. It's great. I love riding through here every day. It's just freaking awesome. I wish they would light up the tree already, because the tree lighting up really looks good too, but we're gonna have a parade and all that. It's just not time for that yet. Which I don't get. Right after Halloween, they immediately take down everything and put the tree up. It's like, just freaking light the tree already. Like, I mean, you already got it up, right? Like, why not? Just light it and let it go. Like, we all know it's there. We come through here every day. We know the tree's there. Just light it up. We want to see the tree. I'm just glad it's not that cold yet. I can still be riding. I don't mind riding when it's, like, uncomfortable. But it's way better when I can just wear leather, a good little under layer, and be comfortable. Not really worry about trying to layer up and hoodies underneath stuff, and that can be fun, but not on long rides, and I tend to do long rides. Alright, let's get out of here. Oh, I distract myself. Oh. If you've ever been riding on a bumpy road and accidentally racked your nuts, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. So with the holidays around, I noticed like there's a lot of deals that were on Black Friday that weren't getting sold out as quickly, which is kind of crazy to me. Because normally Black Friday deals are usually what people go for. And I'm sure there's still the things like the TVs and all that. Those still went out. I'm sure about that. But man, all this other stuff going on, like, I was looking at mainly music equipment and some motorcycle stuff and limited edition stuff, people doing like builds. And I didn't see those things selling out at all. And I was like, that's pretty crazy. Like they're probably sold out by now, but they weren't sold out like during their initial Black Friday runs. And that was pretty crazy to me too. Like, I don't know. And then, to be fair, I didn't see anything that like caught my eye, but my eye might be like specific for me and not for like everybody. Maybe other people in the market for something that I'm not in the market for. Like, if you want to drive pedal, if you're into guitars and you want to drive pedal, then maybe that's what it is, or delay, you know, and they just didn't really have the offerings. But in the past, most people for Black Friday would have came out with like some really cool niche stuff, like, oh, you know what I did notice though? JHS, Josh Scott's company, put out they call it Nauticon. It's Nauticon pedal for those of you that are motorcycle people that don't know what a Klon is. A Klon is this ridiculous thing. It's a guitar pedal that's an overdrive. Became kind of famous in the 90s. They were kind of expensive at that time, but it was a one-off builder, boutique, before boutique was like really a thing in guitar pedals. But it was an overdrive pedal that made what they call a clean, transparent, organic sound. I think in reality, if you kind of understand the circuit, it could either do kind of like a clean boost, or if you use the actual gain on the overdrive, it kind of did this thing that wasn't clean. It colored your sound, mainly because of a treble circuit, and it does a double voltage on your clean blend into the gain. So it's kind of like if you're familiar with a CLA compressor, which is a 1176, the Bluey. It's got like a blue knob on it that's a blend knob on the compression. It's kind of that, but for distortion or overdrive. But anyway, he came out with that pedal. That pedal, for those that really don't know anything about it, that pedal has got an infamous story about this guy named Bill Finnegan that made him back in the day. He invented it I think it was for something like a Vox. He wanted to get that sound of a Vox when it was like really cranked up, but it sounded organic, and kind of pushed the mids on it with a little bit of like a treble bright boost on it. Well, he created this pedal and then started selling them, and everybody loved it. And he started, got a little backlog to it where you had to wait something like 2-3 weeks for a custom build, because he built them all himself in his garage. Well, inevitably what ends up happening is everybody's buying these pedals, but nobody wants to wait. So then there's a market need. So the people that own the pedal go, well, you know what? I already have the pedal. I don't necessarily need it right now. I'll just sell it. And he was still building them and selling his pedals on his website for, I think it was like $295, maybe, the equivalent to that, probably without inflation. I think with inflation, it's the equivalent of about like $495, $500. But at that time, $299 is kind of like a decently expensive pedal for just doing one thing. So he still sold his build to order at $299, and people that already owned them were just like, oh, well, I'll sell this one for $500 to somebody that just wants it tomorrow and doesn't want to wait. And then that started this big rollover trend, and the original creator kind of got upset with it, so he stopped making them. He only finished out the orders he had, and he stopped making them. Then what happened is the market got crazy. People went, oh, these are now discontinued, so they're rare. Which means when something is rare, we're going to up the price even more. So now this $500 thing that you could have bought $299 used like a month before is now $1,000. And then what ends up happening is rollover to rollover, year to year, people start learning about this highly expensive, rare, sought-after guitar pedal. And when people start looking at that guitar pedal and seeing like John Mayer used it, there was a guitarist from the rock band Our Lady Peace, a Canadian rock band, in the 90s. He used one. I think James Hetfield of Metallica used one. No, Kirk Hammett used one. It was Kirk Hammett that used one, I believe. Pretty much all these famous people started using this pedal, and that made, everybody that like is a gear guy, kind of like the way like I would probably, this bad comparison, but the way Harley guys watched that Sons of Anarchy show, and then suddenly club bikes became the rage for a little bit, because everybody wanted a Dyna, because in that show, I guess everybody in that show rode Dynas. I never really saw the show, but when you've got a show that makes something famous, and suddenly everybody wants that thing, and that's kind of what happened. And the kind of interesting thing is you saw a bunch of people go to Dynas, and then you still see Dynas on the road a lot, but the Dyna thing turned into the bagger. What do they call that? Like sport bagger? Because now they have that competition against Indian. It's called like King of the Baggers, where they make bagger bikes. They kind of raised up the bags on them, and they literally do race them, which is kind of interesting. It's really cool to watch, but yeah, I was always like, that's kind of crazy. Although now there's a market for that, where people want that's even crazier to me. People want to have a bagger, which is, for you to like tour in and maybe put like your partner on the back and strap some camping gear on. It's made for comfort, and people are like getting these things and making them absolutely ridiculously like huge crate engines being placed in these things. They're torquing them out, up in the specs, like just going really crazy. And I guess more power to you. Like, I guess people that have money will do things to like brag they did it. Kind of like car guys do that when they like take a vintage car and they like a hot rodded vintage car, and then they just drop a V8 in what used to be originally a V6. They overclock them and all sorts of stuff. Like, I don't know, I never really got that, but I do get that in the guitar world, because in the guitar world I definitely did that, and the motorcycle world too. I guess I've done that with bikes. Like, you change out the air restriction and change out the carbs to allow more air in, and just things like that. I've done that before. Different bikes. I had a Yamaha V-Star 1100 at one point. And that bike, I put one of those butterflies. I don't remember what they're called. It was like a little butterfly that would flap on your air intake. I had that on there, and then that was more for looks than anything. It just looked cool. But every time you like throttled like that, it would just like flutter. I had one of those, and then I had replace the carbs so I could have a better have a better air to gas ratio, which meant that I lost gas mileage, but I had a little bit more power behind it when I pulled out of the light. It was 1100. I mean, it's just over 1,000 cc's. In reality, I think I had way more fun on, I used to have a Harley Sportster. I had way more fun on that Sportster than I did on the Yamaha. But that's also kind of horses for courses. I ended up taking that Harley Sportster and making it a dual sport so I could play in the dirt, which that was really the reason why I had more fun on it, because I could pop a curb and then just go rogue if I wanted to, and I did that quite often. And having a Jeep and then essentially trying to make a Harley into the two-wheel version of a Jeep, it's what I did. And it just worked out that all the tools on Harley and Jeeps are all that weird stars. I don't know what they call those, SAE. It's like a star. Actually, BMW's like that too. So the good thing about that is the tools I have for the Harley and for my Jeep are the same tools that work on this thing, which is kind of awesome. That I didn't have to like go off and buy tools. And the weird thing was, when I had that Yamaha, I had a bunch of metric tools for that bike, and then I got a buddy that ended up getting a Yamaha. I think he got the same bike, and I ended up being able to give him those tools because I was like, I'm not gonna go back to Yamaha. I love that bike, but I wasn't gonna go back to it, so it just kind of worked out. And even then, I still have like Yamaha parts and stuff left over because I swapped seats and swapped pipes and all sorts of weird stuff back then. So I got a bunch of parts, like just laying around somewhere, that I probably got enough parts to like build some hybrid Yamaha, Honda, Suzuki, Harley, Davidson motorcycle, I think. And I probably got some random ass parts too that I don't even know what they go to or what they originally went to. Because sometimes you would end up going to a swap meet and just trying to get something at the swap meet that look cool, because like, I mean, like I admit Screaming Eagle stuff, some of it just looks cool. It's got a lot of branding to it that's not just about the being on a Harley. And I've seen people fabricate Screaming Eagle stuff too, like Honda Rebels, to make a Rebel kind of more like a Sportster. And the bigger Rebels, the older ones, when they made like those carbureted 500s and things like that, I think they actually made a carbureted 1100 or something at one point. Might have been like 8 or 9. Or like I've seen people take those and do some stuff too. There's actually a YouTube channel that I did not know existed until I started filming myself, and I think it's called Lane Split Boulevard. I think that's how he spells it, but he leaves the vowels out. And he's got a really cool, interesting bike. Shout out to Lane Split. Lane Split? I might be getting that wrong. But shout out to that dude. I think his bike's rad. Like, it actually makes me kind of want to do that. Not to this, but maybe like buy a bike that I can just like rat rod around and have fun on, and just be like, you know, something smaller displacement. Because as crazy as this thing is, I don't know if you guys can realize it or see it, I'm in roll mode because this thing has so much power that I don't necessarily need all that power right now when it's a little cold, but it's more the fog and stuff in the morning down here in Texas. That fog leaves condensation on the road and it's a little slippery, and I still want enough power to get up and go. I'm not putting it in rain mode, but I don't need to be like losing traction when I'm leaving a light. So I'm going in roll mode right now. And then once I get like on a straightaway or something, I'll probably switch it back to rock mode, but right now it's just convenient that I'm able to go into roll mode and just kind of lightly pull away. Which is a cool thing about this BMW R18. Like, I actually barely really understood the use case. I mean, it's self-explanatory, rock, roll, and rain. But the use case of those in the real world for riding is super practical. And I know there's people out there that like fairings, and I'm not a fairing guy myself. But like, the only other complaint I would have is I wish this thing had come with hard bags as an option that I could add to it, because everything else about this is pretty fine. I know they came out with the R18 Rockchain. I know they came out with that, and that has the speedometer built into the same housing as the light, and that's cool. But I can't, like, so right now that's in the perfect position for me while I'm riding, and I'm 5'10", so that's perfect for me, like absolutely perfect. I can see it when my helmet's not fogging up because it's kind of chilly, Let me open this up because I'm going slow. So right now, that's pretty perfect for me. You could tell, look at my tank from all this like wetness. That's the condensation and the mist that I'm riding in. I don't really know if the camera's picking all that up, but that's what that is. But that speedometer is like perfect, exactly where I was. And I remember when I got this bike, I was reading reviews of other people, and I guess they were like the first few people that got on forums and stuff and talked about it. And I think those people mainly probably didn't actually own one, they probably test rode one. And people get like super complaining about things when they test ride, because it's like you're really trying to focus on the thing that, I think you go into a test ride with a bias. You either already like it, or you're looking for a reason to hate it. And I fully admit I do that with guitars. If I pick up another guitar, I'm usually looking for a reason to hate it, and that's because I have certain things I like about guitars that I like to play, and I have those habits and tendencies, and I like them to be set up a certain way. So when I pick up somebody else's guitar and it's not like that, I immediately go, oh yeah, this is not good. But in reality, it's probably a great guitar if that person like set it up for them, because maybe their hand is smaller, maybe their hand is larger, maybe their hand is shaped funnier, their fingers are longer, they can wrap around in different ways than me. There's plenty of reasons why that guitar would be better for that person than it would be for me. And then there's, by the same token, people pick up my guitars and don't like them. They're like, oh, you have a wound third. This is very awkward. And I'm like, yeah, I play like Stevie Ray Vaughan size strings, which is kind of crazy for people that are used to being able to bend their strings real easily when they play like there's a term that people use in the guitar forums, they call them blues lawyers, because you always see these lawyers that like have the really expensive gear, and then when you hear them play or try out something, all they know how to do is play blues, because they like had lessons at one point and it was all like a blues guitarist that taught them how to play. I'm like, I have never had a blues lesson in my life. I love the blues. I'm not the best at playing it. I could probably fake it if I needed to. I would not be able to improvise fake it because I would need to learn the song and get an idea of the key changes beforehand. So that requires me to actually kind of learn it a little bit, at least. And then probably warm up on a couple of generic blues licks, and I could probably wing my way through one. But I'm by no means a blues virtuoso of any type. That was never my thing. I just kind of got into punk and hardcore and rock. And then I like country, but I was never like the guy that was chicken picking. Although at one point when I first learned guitar, I was chicken picking, but that's a different story and like a lifetime ago, and it never really stuck. I never really dived down that to really figure out how to do it well. But yeah, I feel like people do that with bikes too. Like they make the bike for themselves. So generically, when you get on a motorcycle, it might be set up generically for everybody. But then when you get on somebody else's bike, you can have your complaint and your bias being like, oh, that bike's not set up for the way I ride. I like forward controls, or I like mids, or I like, to be leaned over on a sport bike, and cruisers are weird for me. Everybody's got their thing, like, that's cool. For me, let's change this over to rock mode. Get some more power. There we go. Feel that vibration. Honestly, that's cool as heck. That I can just roll that throttle back, put it on rock mode with the mode button, and then you just immediately feel that power. And I'm pretty sure the camera picked up the bike just subtly rattling, and I felt it, I felt the vibration through the bars, but it's not super uncomfortable. It just kind of, honestly, it feels raw. It feels like, I've ridden plenty of Harleys that people tried to put like the character into it, and in reality they just made it technically probably not that safe the way they had them set up. And that just kind of reminds me of that, except I would 100% trust this thing stock vibrating over somebody doing some sketchy thing on a Harley to try to make it cool. And mind you, I was the guy that did the sketchy stuff on the Harley to make it cool. I did that at one point. Like, full disclosure, not judging. Some of those things look cool, but they don't have the function. Let's just admit it. It's 2023, we're adults. Let's admit the things that we do because of aesthetics that have nothing to do with the actual performance of the thing. But, for instance, on guitar, people plug into pedals. I was never that big of a pedal guy. I'm still not like the biggest, but I do use them. Obviously, if you've been watching any of my videos, you'll see I use pedals. And I use it as a tone sculpting thing, but I'm perfectly fine just plugging in and just rocking that way. Depending on the amp and the tone you want, sometimes that works. And to be completely transparent, when I'm actually writing and working on things, I usually don't even use the pedal. I'll plug into like that Gibson or my orange amp, the little Gibson combo, it's a Skylark. I'll plug in straight into that and just use what it does. And that amp has nothing. It's got a tremolo built in, a tube tremolo, and then it's 5 watts. Like, it's a tube amp, but I mean, it's 5 watts. With a tube trem, it has a bass and a treble knob that have been modded, but they don't do as much as you think they do. But guitarists, they mod their stuff. I mean, like, I mod my guitars for depending on the scale length, but I tend to prefer Gibson scale length guitars, and I tend to prefer the radius of the fretboard being a 12. That's my preference. And that might be due to the fact that for the majority of my life, I have played Les Pauls. And most players that play a lot faster, like kind of almost ready, or jazz and blues guys, they don't like them. I don't know why. I know there's like some blues player that's famous for probably playing a Les Paul. I mean, people like to try to call out Eric Clapton for his love of that ES-335. I think that was his first guitar that he used. And then, but every modern dude you see playing the blues is always usually playing a Strat. And that's because the later years of Clapton, he had a Blackie, that black Strat. Then he had a white Strat. He played those for the longest. But anyway, guitarists modding things out, like my preference, I just like the 12-inch radius. So if I pick up a 7.5 or a 9.5, I usually don't care for it. I don't like it. Which also, when you guys watch me play my Fender Telecaster guitar, that telly is a custom shop, and it's actually in a 12 radius. It's in a Les Paul radius for my hand. And that's why it's pretty comfy for me, and I can pretty much play everything I normally play on a Les Paul, with the exception of the stretches. It is a Fender scale length 25 1/4, so it's a little bit longer and it's a little bit more for me to stretch to, because I have like medium-sized man hands. But I mean, I make do. It is what it is. Sometimes you just gotta jump over with your finger, and I don't have a problem with that. And the guitar feels great, sounds cool, it's unique, at least unique for me. Like, set up the way I would play a Telecaster. And me being a Les Paul fan, that was always admiring Telecasters, but could never really fall in love with them. That guitar is, like, I love it. Actually, the Maton, perfect example. Maton's a 12 radius too, and that guitar is Fender scaling. But it's a 12 radius like a Les Paul, and I love that guitar. Out the gate, it came fine. Like, there was nothing wrong with it. I was able to play it, and I'm like, oh, it's a little bit of a stretch, but I also... Here's the thing, and I think this goes with motorcycles and guitars. If you jump on a bike that's a cruiser that doesn't really have a lot of speed, you might be more inclined to ride it, you know, not full throttle out, fast tail going down the road. You might be a little bit more tame and just enjoying your ride. Versus you getting on a sport bike or something with a lot of torque and a lot of power, you might be a little bit more inclined to go faster. It's kind of like that with guitars too. I pick up a Telecaster and I'm a little bit more inclined to not try to play some heavy riff that I feel like I'm just like playing fast rock stuff on. I'm usually kind of focused on the fact that the note clarity on single coils is something completely different than when you have a humbucker that tends to push an amp into breakup quicker. So instead, I want to do melodic lines and lead lines and, you know, play little lead riffs and do little clean, pretty parts with like chorus on them and a little bit of light overdrive. And then I pick up a Les Paul and I'm like, oh man, I just want to rock on this thing. And I'm pounding away on chords because they just sound really thick and beefy and cool. Same thing I would say with like motorcycles. Again, you get on a bike and the bike's got some power, like this thing, and I don't know if anybody's kind of noticed it. I tend to go a little fast on my bike everywhere I go. and I'm always in rock mode, so it kind of makes sense that I'm going a little fast, because rock mode, you kind of want to go fast. Like, it's just, the power's there and I can feel it. And that's also part of the reason why I've been trying to go in roll mode a little bit more, so I can be a little bit more conscious about that. Mainly because, like, I don't know if y'all guys can tell, the road right here, there is condensation on the road on both sides. And, like, it's not that it's like I'm afraid of slipping or anything, but as a precaution, it's a little better if I'm going a little slower. And considering I got hit by a deer already, I am not looking to get hit by any more animals or hit any animals anytime soon. So, just going in roll mode makes a little more sense. Although right now, in rock mode it is, because, whatever, you know. You gotta live sometimes. What does that mean? Just buy the guitar, you gotta live. Or you only live once, just buy the Les Paul. That's gonna make some Fender lovers really mad. Sorry, not sorry. Always been a Les Paul dude. But that pedal thing, back with JHS and the Klon, they made a version of that Klon pedal where, because it's such an outrageous price, they were like, we're going to make one that you can build yourself, essentially like a DIY kit. And they only charged $99 for it. And they came out with it on like a Tuesday before Black Friday, and they sold out of the first batch of like 3,000 or something pretty quickly, I think the same day. And but the funny thing is, I've never had a Klon, never really cared about the Klon myself, mainly because they were so expensive. But I have debated getting that one, because I wouldn't mind like a $99 pedal that gives me an idea of whether I like it, because I don't mind trying different sounds to see what I might not need something for my personal taste in the studio or on a record, but it's also good to have. Like, I let people borrow my stuff a lot. If I know you and I trust you, then I'll let you borrow an amp, a pedal, cabinet, anything you need. If you're touring or you're gigging or you want to use it in the studio, I've let plenty of people over the years borrow things, because I mean, sometimes you got the thing, and sometimes you want to borrow something and you know somebody that's got it. So we just, you swap and you trade, just so everybody can kind of get an idea. Then sometimes you don't know if you want something and somebody has a version of it, and you try it out and go, okay, yeah, it's not what I thought it was, it doesn't work. Or you're like, oh my god, that's exactly what I needed, and would you let me buy it from you? It'd be cool if I owned my friend's thing. Or maybe you want to trade, there's something you want. Or I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going to look for a version of that because I think your sound's cool and I want to sound similar to that for this reason. And you get it. So for me, I had been spending the past, like, I think 2 years looking at Klons, ironically enough. And then JHS comes out with the pedal, and it's a DIY pedal build yourself kit thing, and it's a Klon. And since they're sold out, they're on back order, and I think it's like a 4-week or 8-week back order. I'm like, yeah, I'm not in that much of a hurry to get one. I do want one to try, but I mean, I've been waiting 2 years. I have other pedals that I've gotten that I've ran through. Mainly the pedal that I kind of wanted to see if I could replace would be, or not replace, but kind of use it instead of, is either a TS9 tube screamer, or I use a, in my videos, I don't know if I've talked about it, but I have a, what is that called? It's called a BFE Dragon, and it's not a tube screamer, but I use it kind of as one. What that pedal does is you can sweep a high pass and a low pass, and you can sweep that and then make drastic cut it's a boost. It's kind of a drastic boost. I had to think about that. It's not a cut. It's a boost. And over that EQ, you can add a gain, and then you can select the volume and the amount of boost. Or boost or cut. No, not cut, boost. Yeah, sorry. It's confusing because when I use the knobs, it kind of confuses me. But once you dial it in, you can kind of tighten up a sound how you want it. And it's kind of like running an EQ before, running an EQ in your pedal chain after your guitar tone, but before the amp. I guess you can run it in effects loop. You can do either or. But essentially, it helps you shape your tone so you fit the mix more. And that was something I was looking for. But I am curious if a Klon would be cool, because I've always seen people play light overdrive Klons, like with a clean boost, a little bit of treble, a little bit of gain, and it sounds really cool. It's like a little presence peak, if you will. So I'm like, that'd be cool to have. That's why I'm interested in it. There's a bunch of clones, and the clones get crazy because people sell the clones for thousands of dollars too. So even though they're not original, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not that interested to get a friggin' $1,000 or $2,000 clone of an original pedal that I want to try. I'd rather just find somebody making an affordable one for me to try. And if I end up, for some reason, really liking it, I can always go off and buy the better one. But that's not like my priority at any given time, is to buy the brand new one. Plus, they don't make them new anymore anyway. But then there's an argument about people that make them more better than others. And this batch sounds different than that batch. It's kind of weird because I don't think there's any motorcycle company that does this. But in that pedal company, that guy that created it wanted to hide the circuit that he created. So he did this thing called gooping, where he put all this black goop on the pedal. And that black goop hid everything because it hardened. I don't know what it was, like a glue or something. Well, it hardened over the circuit, which A, made the circuit non-serviceable for warranty work, and B, it made it impossible almost to remove so you could see what the circuit was. So I guess in retrospect, it did work. But now I've never seen anybody do that. Like, you're not going to goop an engine. I say that, and now I think about it, and I'm like, yeah, I've seen people like spray paint their engines matte black and weird things. Maybe that is a thing with some dude. I don't know. But you're not going to see somebody goop a motorcycle in a certain way where it just makes them like non-usable from the factory. Non-usable. It voids the warranty itself. And hey, if you guys like my content, give this video a like or hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. It helps me know I'm doing something good that's worth the value to people. So dad advice, it's the holiday season, and while not necessarily everybody, enjoys everything Christmas, there's people that definitely don't like Christmas, and those are the people that like to say happy holidays instead of Merry Christmas. You don't have to be militantly anti-Christmas to enjoy Christmas. Like, I legit used to hate Christmas music so much. Like, it just annoyed me. I hated that every time November hit, you would walk everywhere and you'd start hearing Christmas songs. And in general, there's two Christmas songs that I actually still don't like. They do rather annoy me. And they're always on repeat in, like, any store you go to. You can go to the gas station and it's on repeat. But for the most part, I've learned to ignore the things I don't like about the holiday season and just actually look back and appreciate spending time with my family and spending time with the people that I love and getting to see the littles grow up, and then just the amazement in their eyes and everything that's so fresh to them. It really does, it just changes you, and you have a different perspective. And you have to constantly be on your feet and reminding yourself that the things that you've grown to love and hate, you reflect on them. But they're always going to have these memories with you. All of your loved ones, everybody that you love, will have these memories with you. So spend the time. Alright. And remember, pull hard, play hard.